Good evening, Canby. Welcome to, our City Council work session. We're going to be going over some comprehensive plan policy review with our planning team. And so, Mr. Hardy, I'm just going to turn it over to you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I know Randy had some words. He was going to just kind of introduce the topic tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and on his behalf. So tonight, our focus really is on major themes for the comprehensive plan. This is not a deep dive tonight. This is going to be like large themes per chapter. There's 12 chapters. This is moving along nicely in the process. I'm going to jump ahead a bit. We would also like to do some other work sessions with council to go into chapter review, not word by word, but going through and looking at the areas that we think council would be most interested in looking at. And so the idea behind that would be kind of a color coding, which would be what policies and goals have we already agreed to with other documents like housing needs, housing production, economic opportunity analysis, kind of casting those aside. We've done a lot of work with the Historic Landmarks Commission, and so Goal 5 is now really solid, and we work with their membership, their chair and vice chair extensively. But trying to focus on, picking out those items that deal with vision and that we think that council would want to weigh in on. And so going through and maybe doing the 12, doing 6 one night and then 6 another night where we could go through and go through those chapters. And we think there's a lot of value in doing those work sessions before we get to hearing. That way we're not in hearing and it's like spiraling and like there's other information coming in, but you all are comfortable going forward with the hearing process. That we don't think this is going to be much of a change to our trajectory in terms of our timeline. It should not take that much extra time to do that. But we're trying to piece all these things together. So tonight, Steve Faust from 3J, who's leading our team, is going to walk us through what we have tonight. Now, also, I don't want you to hold back. If you actually had a ton of time, which you probably didn't have, to review all the 55 pages that we provided you of the policies, if you have comments on those, if you looked at those, we'd love to have those tonight. But we're just trying to give you an idea of where we're at on the major chapters, what we've heard from the stakeholders, which has included the Project Advisory Committee, Technical Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, and a lot of these groups have actually done a really fantastic job. The Planning Commission wanted to pour into this, and also post the discussion with them, they actually provided additional comments and went through word by word on these documents. So that's reflective of the composite we have now. And so a lot of these folks on Project Advisory Committee has done some of the same thing. So this is really becoming synthesized down. And so with that, I think that gives you enough, hopefully, overview. So tonight is not really a deep dive so much, but we wanted to get through the materials and talk about the 12 chapters, what we've heard to date, and then next steps, and then start to look at, and I know Mayor Randy's going to be working with you to kind of figure out when these might happen. December is not too early, I mean, for us, so I just pointing that out. And December 3rd and 10th were floated there. We haven't figured out what those look like, but I would be more than happy to come back and start going through the highlights of these in more detail on a policy level. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don. Good evening, Mayor Hodson and councilors. As Don said, we're going to go pretty high level tonight, and I'll probably go kind of quickly through the slides so you have time for discussion since we have limited time, but please don't hesitate to stop me if I go too fast or there's something you want to talk about. Next slide, please.
Oh, you have a control.
Oh, great. Even better.
Let me try this.
You see Steven, is that on?
Oh, is it just not on?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, just a refresher on our process. We started way back in January 2023 with this project, along with the Transportation System Plan and the Urban Growth Boundary Expansion. After we worked through our community vision, which we have in place, we kind of shifted the focus a little bit more to the TSP and the UGB expansion. So we just recently, kind of the end of the summer, picked this up again and started doing more detailed chapter reviews with Don and the planning team. Throughout, we've had our technical advisory committee. We just had a meeting with them last week. Our project advisory committee. We've had our 5 summits and our 1 Spanish language summit, and briefings with you and Planning Commission. Just a quick 101 again, what is a comprehensive plan? So it's a long-range plan that guides future growth and development in the Canby urban area. It's a framework for all land use and related activities that in line with the community vision and aims to ensure orderly and efficient development that meets the community's needs. So what does the comprehensive plan contain? So we started with background reports, these inventories, according to the different statewide planning goals. You'll see in your chapters kind of a summary of that information leading into the goals, policies, and strategies. The community vision, which I mentioned, we worked through very early in the process with a lot of community engagement. The goals and policies and strategies, which we're going to go over tonight. And then action plans, how do we make it happen? So one of the points of confusion for the project advisory committee was the purpose of the comp plan relative to these implementing or action plans. They wanted to see more detail in the comp plan, so we want to make it clear going forward that the comp plan is really providing policy direction, and then that policy direction is implemented through things like the development code, the zoning map, annexation procedures, your capital improvement plan, and other plans and programs that the city administers. And so the comprehensive plan takes all these pieces and rolls it up into one. Briefly, as Don mentioned, Planning Commission dug in, and I don't have all the comments for you, but we thought we'd just share some of their comments with you at a high level. The main one being, as Don mentioned, Don, do you want to talk about the work to incorporate the
Absolutely.
historic preservation plan?
And so these are comments we received after during our planning commission work session with them. We've subsequently made those changes, but there was a lot more information in Goal 5 on the Historic Landmarks Commission. We are trying to reduce that content in Goal 5. There's still quite a bit in there. Just in a very short order, there's a historic preservation plan that was done a number of years ago. That is referencing back to our 1984 comprehensive plan policies. And so there's a bit of a disconnect there. And so what we wanted to do is still recognize that historic preservation plan, but to put the goals and policies and strategies into this comp plan as the driver. So we've whittled that down in terms of like putting those goals, policies, and strategies in concert with Historic Landmarks Commission's chair and vice chair, work through that process. And so that has already been done, but we reduced that down in content.
Thanks, Don. And then some other key comments that we received. They wanted to see public involvement policies that reflect making planning process accessible to all community members. They asked for a policy that addresses the current electric grid issues. You'll see a theme tonight. They wanted to see some strengthening of policies that address noise and other nuisances. I think you're probably aware that we've been hearing from the public as well, concerns about noise conflicts between industrial and residential uses. We removed some, the PAC and the Planning Commission asked us to remove some specific references to electric vehicles. And then we are adding policy to the TSP and or it's already in the TSP, but to the comp plan regarding what we're calling radial roads. So we'll see that in, I don't know if it's in this version, but it'll be either in this version or the next version, and it'll be carried over from the TSP.
So refresh my memory on radial roads.
So these would be like the Berg Parkway flyover. These are very large project items connecting to Knights Bridge. These are still recognized in our transportation system plan, which you all have not seen, but you will be seeing. That list is coming forward along with the transportation system plan. We're still keeping that content in there, even though these are multiple million-dollar projects that may end up being necessary to push beyond 20 years because there's just not the financing for those. But recognizing that they still have substance and they're important for the city, recognizing that during the community summits, we've heard that voice repeated about trying to find ways essentially to get to the highways more quickly without disruption. There's also a discussion with the county. Now they're doing the transportation system plan update will be on their technical advisory committee. And things that may be outside of our jurisdiction like Barlow and 99 and that improvement, which would be really helpful. That's not necessarily in our TSP, but those are kind of spinoffs from that as well. But the radial roads are just to recognize that those are still important to the city, recognize that as going forward, we have them in our comp plan. Wishful thinking that federal funding and matching funding will happen more robustly in the future, and that at some point we'll end up being able to like maybe say, yeah, we've identified that in these plans, and therefore we could leverage grants from those.
Thank you, Don. Oops. So there are a few changes, and I think you've seen this before, but some changes being proposed to the comprehensive plan map that will be included to the northeast. You see some changes to Special Area J and just adjacent as well, and that's redoing Special Area J. There's a few.
Yeah, and just as note, we did talk about the Special Area J last year about the same time in November. These are bringing forward that mixed-use concept in that area to recognize Jarbo's Restaurant, which is currently pre-designated low-density residential, and we're recognizing that as a comprehensive plan designation of commercial, which is what the activity is there. And then the mixed-use residential is following property boundaries, which the current comprehensive plan does not follow. So there's a bit of a recast of the mixed-use, medium density residential designation, and then there's a small portional add of high density residential, and these are all consistent with the current comp plan now, which actually calls for that. Also, the linkages to Walnut Street extension will be going through the area by Jarbo's Restaurant, which also makes that whole area work quite consistently. The other changes are relatively minor. They're reflective of build-out situations for residential, so that basically the underlying what's already built out there is reflecting largely going from medium-density residential to low-density residential. This does not change any zoning on a map. It's just the comp plan. But there's also a portion on Ivy where there's a number of businesses. Again, comprehensive plan is low-density residential. Those businesses are really commercial in their nature, and so we're giving that commercial designation. And if the owner wants to come in and do a rezone for that, it would be reflective of that, but that would give them an opportunity to continue their uses that they've had out there legally now. So that's just a quick summary.
Perfect. Okay, to the goals and policies. As I mentioned, the document that you have in your packets includes the background information, but tonight we're just going to give a high-level review of some of the topics that are included in the goals and policies. We started with the existing comprehensive plan, and Don and Ryan and the team kind of audited it to see which ones are still relevant, which ones should be removed or modified, and areas for new policies. We also have source materials. I'll go over those when we get to each goal chapter. We also took into consideration the community engagement from our advisory committees and from the broader public. Best practices, and then this version does include us addressing comments from both the PAC and the Planning Commission. So again, we don't need to dive into this tonight, but eventually we're going to want to hear from you. Are these the right policies? Are these the right strategies? Are there any that need to be removed or added or modified? So that's something to keep in mind.
And so again, back to tonight's really more the thematic elements of this. But, we are totally open to policy and strategy suggestions, but are we looking at the right themes? Are there things you would like us to dive deeper into and to bring back in more discussion and work session?
So, yeah.
Real quick. And I should have brought this up under the map thing. One of the things that I will just share that is kind of frustrating to me is that we have said that one of the things that we need to do is increase our high-density residential. And most of the areas that are chosen on these maps for high-density residential are ones where there are already buildings. And there have been buildings for many, many decades. And one thing that we have learned through the Dahlia project is it really is a fluke when a number of those parcels are purchased by one individual and then are consolidated into a larger high-density residential project. And that is hard to happen. That is hard to come by. So to me, it makes sense that in areas where there are larger tracts of land that won't need consolidation, to have some high-density residential in those areas, you are more likely to get people to build high-density residential on those lots because by nature they are ready to go. They do not have to be consolidated. And so you can do a larger project in one fell swoop rather than waiting decades to try and get somebody to consolidate it. So I know that there are rules and people's hackles go up when you talk about these things, but to me, it just seems like we are missing out on a great opportunity to actually do what the state and other people say to increase the livability of Canby by creating, more mixed housing options that are more affordable within reason by using higher density residential.
Yeah, so noted. And I think one example, there may be others that we could look at as well, but the special area J up in the northeast, that's the intention behind that. I would like to just offer a couple things. One is hear what you're saying. I think largely we're looking at the current comp plan and the direction that's taking. Secondly, during our code update process, we will be looking at things like, and that's part of our housing production strategy, is to look at what are the criteria for looking at upzoning properties. That will be forthcoming as well. That's not necessarily wrapped into this process that we're doing right now. One of the challenges, this is where everything is dynamic in Oregon, is one of the challenges is by zoning vast areas of high-density residential means that we actually have less demand for urban growth boundary expansion for residential. It's really a corresponding issue, and there was a huge battle to get the 73 acres that we got for the next 20 years, which we're still not sure necessarily. There's some disagreement perhaps about is that number big enough, and depending on who you talk to. But I think there's also a fairly large assumption that they're going to be redevelopment happening, redevelopment of property or infill property developing at a fairly high level over the next 20 years. That's what the state's assuming. So I think from that perspective, we're trying to do what we can without being penalized for the boundary expansion, but also as we move forward and once this is adopted and we're doing our code changes, there'll be less scrutiny because that we'll be past that process where the urban growth boundary is in play. We'll have more autonomy to address that issue later. So I hear what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying on that subject.
All right, excuse me. Citizen involvement. Some of the topics covered there are the Planning Commission's official role relative to community engagement or citizen involvement, establishing some regular review of the comprehensive plan, the accessibility, as I mentioned, of the public involvement processes, ensuring inclusive and welcoming outreach for city projects, and partnering with community organizations. Goal 2, land use planning. Some of the key provisions there are buffering incompatible land uses, which I mentioned earlier, that general increase in intensity and density of housing types that Councilor Padden just mentioned, looking at conditions of approval to mitigate conflicts between land uses, acknowledging the unique character of major corridors and gateways, community character, and infrastructure improvements to occur concurrent with development. That's another theme we heard throughout, is people's concern about, well, development's fine, but do we have the infrastructure to support that growth and development? And so several places throughout the comprehensive plan, there's policies that address that issue. Goal 5, natural resources. As Don mentioned, we included a lot of information from the historic preservation plan about landmarks, sites, and structures, policies about the visual character of the community, new policies related to archaeological resources and working with tribes that is aligning with new state rulemaking around those issues. Protecting fish and wildlife habitats, and a lot of public comment about wanting to preserve and enhance the city's tree canopy. So those are some of the key topics there. And sorry, I forgot to mention, so the source materials for that included, for this chapter, include the historic preservation plan, the wetlands and riparian inventory, information about habitat from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, about minerals from Dogami. I can't remember the acronym for that right now, but has to do with minerals and resources of that, land resources, and then the Canby Utility Water System Master Plan. Next goal is air, water, and land resources quality. We gathered information from the EPA, Oregon DEQ, the Stormwater Master Plan, the Canby Water Quality Report, and the Water System Master Plan. So we're looking at protecting surface and groundwater resources, locating amenities near residential areas to reduce vehicle miles traveled, looking at lighting design to reduce light pollution, provisions to help with the noise pollution issue, and educating the community on non-point source pollution. Goal 7, the information for this chapter largely comes from the Clackamas County Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, and there's a Canby addendum to that specific to Canby. So we pretty much pulled everything over from, most things over from there and modified them a bit to fit our format. So we looked at restricting development in areas with natural hazards, coordinating and collaborating emergency operations, investing in retrofitting infrastructure to withstand some natural disasters, restoring a priority to restore critical services following natural hazard events, and then education, community resilience, and awareness. For goal 8, recreation needs, we looked at the Canby Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and again, pulled over a lot of the policies from that document. So I know there's a lot of talk about people who want a parks department for Canby, so we kind of put that in as exploring staff and funding to support parks and recreation activities. Looking at providing healthy recreation opportunities, expanding parks, trails, and open spaces. I know there's a lot of discussion about that relative to the urban growth boundary expansion. Being in compliance with ADA regulations for parks, and providing a sense of safety and belonging at Canby Parks for all community members. Goal 9 is economic development, and you may remember a few years back when we went through the economic opportunities analysis. So again, a lot of the information here comes from that document, looking at a focus on industrial development and high-wage jobs, expanding lodging options in Canby, looking towards mixed-use redevelopment in downtown, and providing a diversity of health services as an industry for Canby. The Goal 10 housing chapter, you all adopted a housing needs analysis and are in the process of doing that with the housing production strategy. Those are some source materials here. Policies include ensuring a 20-year land supply for housing, making sure that public utilities and services are concurrent with that development, preserving naturally occurring affordable housing, encouraging or allowing for and encouraging housing for renters, the elderly, folks with disabilities, and low-income community members. The Project Advisory Committee talked a lot, and maybe Planning Commission as well, about wanting to make sure that, with a general increase in density and intensity of housing, making sure that there's open space requirements that go along with multifamily housing. Excuse me. I know the Housing Production Strategy did some work around planned unit developments, and then criteria for citing multifamily housing. So we've got that in there, just haven't done it yet. Goal 11 is public facilities and services. The source materials here are the water, wastewater, and stormwater master plans, as well as the Canby Utility Master Plan. They have a 5-year plan that they are actually in the process of updating, so the current data in here for them is a little out of date, but they hope to get us new source material in December, so that should be forthcoming. Again, the policies here really look at the provision of utility services for current and future residents, making sure there's updated regularly capital improvement program. There's a policy about a preference for on-site stormwater management when that is the preferred approach or when that is possible. Financing needed public improvements equitably, and then collaborating with entities and agencies like Canby Utility to provide these public facilities. Goal 12, the transportation is the material comes from the new transportation system plan, which Don mentioned you'll be seeing in a few weeks. Goal 12, some of the policies, eliminating transportation-related disparities and barriers, providing a safe and secure transportation system for all, reducing vehicle miles traveled per capita, managing the transportation system to ease congestion, and providing a low-stress bike and pedestrian network. Goal 13 is energy conservation. No source materials here. Some of the policies are, again, providing that active transportation infrastructure and transit options to reduce vehicle miles traveled. There was a lot of community support for, requiring or encouraging solar panels to go along with industrial development. Looking at medium and high density residential zone designations, providing access to local jobs to reduce commuting, and continuing programs like the Canby Utility Rebate and energy conservation programs. And then finally, goal 14, urbanization, providing an orderly transition from rural to urban uses, using accepted growth management techniques, pursuing urban growth boundary amendments when necessary, efficiently providing infrastructure to newly annexed areas, all these things coming up soon for Canby, and coordinating with Clackamas County and other government and tribal agencies around growth and development. So that's our high-level overview. Again, whether it's tonight or at a future work session, we're looking to you for your thoughts on these policies and strategies, and ones that you have questions about or would like to see modified or have recommendations. Quickly, our next steps. And this slide does not include those work sessions, but as of today, we are tentatively scheduled to have a hearing with Planning Commission on February 23rd and a City Council hearing on March 18th. And that is it for our presentation.
So Steve and Don, have the Planning Commission seen these 14 items?
The goals, yes, they have.
And they're already working on their kind of thoughts and opinions on?
They've provided more than half of them, in addition to the work session, more than half of them have given us written comments already. Okay. So we've tried as a first lens to make sure we're including that information.
Good, good. Councilor Davis.
Thank you for the presentation. I like the overview, and I think as we do a deeper dive into the sections, like you're talking about, Don, because I didn't want to get into some of those tonight, obviously, but I think as we get into those sections, it would be very helpful.
Yes, Mr. Ely.
Thank you,
Hello.
Mr. Mayor. Sorry, apologies for being late. Were you able to tee up a little bit of our discussion that we had earlier?
I think I captured it,
Yeah.
just kind of with the idea that there'd be work sessions to go into more, maybe breaking half and half for
Okay.
of the 12, we would do 6 and 6 during separate work sessions, but we haven't landed on the exact dates of those, but we're more than willing to do that and to go through. The only other thought that I had not shared earlier, Randy, is color coding these so that some of these are like what has been adopted by housing production, housing needs analysis, economic opportunity analysis. Framework-wise, what have we already adopted, and then what is the target for council on vision and what we think are the critical elements for them, so we're not going through and wordsmithing these one by one, which would take an incredibly long time. Want to get you out of here by 9, whatever we're doing, so, yeah.
Wait, word travels fast about that 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah, and
I
Steve,
think-
No one's complaining now.
Yeah, not yet.
I think, Mr. Mayor, Council, some things that really hit home, and many of you served on Planning Commission, hit home for me as I studied this, getting ready for tonight, is that the comp plan that you're working on now, about essentially 95% of it is from 1984.
Yeah.
If you think of that. And
Oh, yeah, no, we know.
I know you know that. And as Don pointed out, the last work session you had was in November a year ago. So we thought it was timely to get back, and as this is going to be your planning authority, this revision, to think of those themes that you want baked into each of these chapters. That's the mindset. Yeah, the themes.
and thank you, Randy. And just one more thought, and in context, we also have from Steve a comparative of what has been changed with red line strike through from where we started from the 84 comp plan, just as a reference. Not that you want to see horrible red ink everywhere, but there's a lot that's changed. Yeah.
Specifically done, we also at the request, it's actually a legal requirement, and we can make this available. We're cleaning it up right now, but we have a spreadsheet that shows kind of the current comp plan and what happens to those goals and policies, whether they're removed or modified, and then added policies as well. So when that's cleaned up, we'll share that with you too, so you can go back and say, where did this come from? And we can show you that.
Yeah, just so Randy and I had a very lengthy conversation with my days are blurring. Was it yesterday or Monday? It was yesterday. Okay, great. And looking at these 12 goals coming up, and I know that, we've added the second Wednesday to be work session heavy, and that being really ideally the only thing. And so one of the first things we wanted to do as a work session was to kind of address and look at prioritizing our goals and whatnot. And so knowing that, so Randy and I are looking at the next agenda for the first meeting in December, that would be one of the agenda items for that meeting, so that we can then start the second Wednesday of December to start diving into these items and going through those, so that we can start here December, January, starting to chip away at those, so that we can meet this deadline for the city council hearing in March. The other point being as well is, like, I think Don and what you just said too about going through and what's already been addressed will really, I think, fine tune our conversation as a council. So we're not getting wrapped around the axle on stuff that we've already decided on or was, written into, Canby folklore based on, different analyses and plans. And I know TSP is going to be part of conversation coming up as well. So those are things I think as we know that those are coming up, we'll be able to knock off a number of these pretty quickly. And I agree. I think going bullet point by bullet point, in each of those probably won't be necessary unless there's deeper dive language that we need to understand and to be able to approve it. But No, I appreciate tonight. I was expecting, I'm like, are we going to get through all this in an hour tonight? Like, I'm like, Don has high confidence in us. So I appreciate the approach tonight, but just so the council knows, that's kind of what Randy and I have already started talking about for our upcoming agendas. Councilor Stearns and Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarifying question. This plan is something we're preparing to be submitted to the State Land Use Board, or this is a...
It would be acknowledged by the state, and so that process is really fairly simple. Council adopts the comprehensive plan. There's a 21-day appeal period. If there's no appeals, it's adopted.
I'm just trying to wonder, how much are we trying to, how much of it is our audience the state rather than the audience is being the city citizens? I mean, is this something that we're like trying to check in boxes and please somebody at the state, or is it something that we're trying to please Canby citizens?
It's definitely both. The comprehensive plan needs to align with the statewide planning goals, and that's why you see it organized as such. We do have staff from DLCD will be reviewing this kind of excuse me, concurrently with you by maybe mid-December to make sure that we're checking all of their boxes. But certainly, we want to make sure that it represents the will of the community as well. And when those two things come into conflict, it's up to us and you all to kind of navigate that.
Okay, and as such, how binding is it? So, and I'm trying to say, how much are we trying to sort of teach to the test, or trying to, I don't know the best way of putting it.
No, that was pretty good.
Or how much are we actually, how much is this actually our decision on how we want the city to look like? Because is it we're pertaining to please the state, or is it we're actually doing actual things that we're going to want to actually, that we actually want to do?
I'll let you guys answer that one.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but one thing I'll mention is that when you're looking to, when planning commission or city council are looking to adopt certain land use related provisions, Don's staff report needs to reflect that it's meeting all of your comprehensive plan goals and policies, right? So it plays a very real role in your land use related activities, ongoing and throughout the years.
I think it's really kind of a visionary piece as well. I mean, part of this is, I would say we should lean more heavily on, is there something we might consider in the next 20 years that we want to just identify? And not that it commits us to doing that, but it gives the council and future councils the ability to say, yeah, that's something that was thought about and it had a policy or strategy around it.
For example?
It could be, what would be?
Housing density.
Yeah, that could be one of those things, or just the notion of like
States.
Yeah, like urban growth
versus
boundary
communities.
expansions. Let's, we're not done. We'll have another, in 10 years, we'll probably be revisiting this. Do we or do we not want to maintain an adequate supply of housing and employment? Or the ongoing discussions around employment areas and job density. That would probably be something over time that we talk about in terms of ordinances that, what should that be? Those are the kinds of things that we're planting seeds for in the future for future discussions. Is job density important? Is having a transportation network, and we're talking loosely about that in chapter 12 here, but what are those priorities around those things that are important to us? Like I mentioned, there's some aspirational things about having these radius roads that we talked about, but having that in there. So this is a bit of visioning, and I agree with Steve as well. Like when you get down to something very specific though, and most land uses don't come before you all, but they would clearly go before the Planning Commission on certain things. But if there was let's say a comprehensive plan change, what is, your basis for that comprehensive plan change, which is a legislative action on a land use action, it has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. And so this does carry some weight on that as well.
Okay, so my my overall question I'm struggling with is, are we, when we create this plan, trying to just do what we think needs to be done, or are we trying to do what we think the state thinks that we need to get done?
So, okay, can I?
Yeah.
Because it's a very good question, and unfortunately, Councilor Stearns, it is one that we have battled, because I'll go back to when Councilor Patton was on council the first time, and then as a planning commissioner, and the time that Councilor Hensley and I have been on here, that it has been an land use has been an ongoing battle for the 14 years that I've been doing this. And so to your question is, it's a little bit of a, I think, double-edged sword, catch-22. Like, you know, the people's goals are what the state tells us our goals are. Does that make sense?
But not what the citizens of Canby tells us.
Correct.
Well,
but to some degree, we hear from the citizens here. We'll go back to, I think it was Greg Ellis was our city administrator, and we did a community visioning plan, and the community's vision, and this, right, housing wise, was they wanted to see homes being built on larger lots, more like 12,000 square feet to, quarter acre. Okay. That goes exactly in the face of their land use goals of density, and density, right? That's an example, right? So the people here, yeah, we want every house, built on an oversized lot. That won't fly in a plan like in our comp plan. That'll immediately get riddled with holes and sent back to us to redo it. State land use, like metro planning, now we're not in metro, but their goals is 25 dwellings per acre. That is one of their goals, but that is not what the people of Portland or what live in the metro area want to see, but that's kind of what's being directed by the state. So my comment was a little bit tongue-in-cheek about Canby citizens' goals is what the state tells us, and we push back where we can to get what we want to try to achieve for our communities. But we also face decreasing home rule autonomy, right? Us being able to make decisions that we think are best for our community, because the state has slowly taken that control from us. So you're asking a very valid question, and it's a huge philosophical debate that goes on every time something like this goes on in every city. Council Pat, please.
Yeah, and I was going to just say, yes, the state has put some rigorous guardrails on what this process can do and all of that. But it is a testament to the fact of how many open hearings and public outreach and countless times that these folks have come back to us and to the Planning Commission to get more information, and then go back to the citizens, back to the landowners, maps. The amount, I've been on both the the economic strategy committee
Opportunity, yep.
and this one, and so I have seen firsthand how much input has gone in. Now, Canby do most of the, and this is one of the things that I find semi-hilarious and frustrating about the situation, is that most of the people you talk to in Canby about this, they say, well, we don't want the city to grow anymore. We don't want this. And it's like, okay, well, when did you move here? Well, I moved here 5 years ago. Okay, so now you've gotten here, so it's time to roll up the sidewalk so no one else can come in? I mean, there has to be a give and take. And so, yeah, everybody would love to have a 2-acre piece of property in the city. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little snide here, but if you want a 2-acre piece of property, then you go to the outside of the city limits and go out far enough that in 30 or 50 years, your property isn't annexed into the city at some point in time, right? But there are certain things that the state has told us we need to have. There's ways that the city has pushed back on that, and I think that we have gotten some concessions from the state on some of the things that we've pushed back. But we've done it in a way that we haven't burned any bridges. And so, that's.
I'm just trying to decide what battles are worth fighting and which ones are
Well,
not.
and I think
That's a fair
those
question.
battles have been fought, and now it's time to take the spoils of war that we have gotten from this. Maybe there's a few swords and shields we can pick up here and there, but what we've got is what we've got, and we need to get it done because this is one piece of many other pieces that need to fall in order to now work towards updating our city codes, which are woefully inadequate because they've been in place since the 1980s as well, and start to close some of these loopholes that folks are using to take advantage of the city.
So that was my question. I have one just more comment, which is more of a, I guess, advocacy or something, policy thing. As I looked through, one of the things that kept popping up through all these goals and plans, and I've mentioned before, is if the city were to promote more high-paying jobs, I think that's one of the things in there. A lot of the issues that are in there would probably solve themselves. If there was more high-paying jobs, then people wouldn't have to commute so far to work. If there's more high-paying jobs, affordable housing wouldn't be as much of an issue. And so, just an example of this project, we don't even know who the tenant's going to be, but the question in my mind is how much am I going to be paid to work at that place when it's up and running? And I know we don't know the answer to that yet, but something that should be in the back, I think, of the city's mind and the economic development is how do we get jobs that pay more into Canby? Because a lot of these distribution places and stuff, I know who works there, I do their tax returns, I know how much they make, and it's not enough to live in Canby in any kind of meaningful, except for in the lower income housing places, unless you have combined incomes and stuff like that. But I just want to point that out as a policy that I think should be pushed as much as possible, and that's, of course, my opinion as a councilor. So that's all I want to say this time.
Okay. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep my comments brief because we're running out of time here, but I think going with what Jason was talking about too is you've done a remarkable job in regards to public input, planning commission, everything else. And that's the important part because that's coming from people that live here and have a good vision for what it is. And so I appreciate all the input and all the process that you've ran so far as this. And I look forward to really getting into the deep dive into the respective sections too. I think we can learn from some of the other cities, maybe down south, like in California, in LA, in regards to the potential of hazard mitigation. As we try to build affordable housing and high density housing, but you're also talking about tree canopies and things that burn, and ways to get out of those communities when something bad happens, because we certainly have seen an increase of fire danger into the Clackamas County area as well as Canby. But with that said, I think we owe it to the citizens here that we build safe communities. And I know, so when we look at canopies or we look at vegetation and things like that in high density, as well as roads going in and out, can they get in and out okay in the event that something really bad does happen? And we can learn from that, from the Paradise Fire in California, as well as the LA City fire, because of lack of water, canopies, things that will burn and stuff like that. And we certainly don't want to create that here as well, so. But, and then, of course, affordable housing is going to be a big one for me, too. What does that mean, and how do we do that for affordable housing? And we started touching on some of those areas, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davis. Councilor Patton?
No, that was it.
Oh.
Councilor Water.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
In some of the policies, it mentions like tribal agencies and stuff like that. Does Canby have any interaction with any tribal agencies at all?
Could you clarify what you're...
You talk about interacting with different policies, and part of it is, talks about, so et cetera, and tribal agencies. I was wondering, in any of our planning, is there any tribal agency that we talk to or have to, or is there any?
Tribes.
Native
American
tribes.
Tribes, sorry.
Yeah.
I was,
Say travel.
yeah.
No, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was what I heard as well, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all.
Sorry.
The Grand Ron is, we have not really interfaced specifically, but we will be doing that as part of the, this process. Now, our work with Heritage Landmarks Commission is recognizing in a fairly significant way what rulemaking is on the horizon already. Tribes will be at the table on land use reviews in the future. That's coming. They will have input into the land use process. We recognize that in advance of that process. There's some discretion on the city's part as to whether, how much review that is. I could see a lot more inadvertent discovery plans being required as conditions of approval for land use actions in the future based on those comments from tribes. We have not had direct interface with tribes per se, but we are working with HLC specifically and their policies, and you're going to see that in Goal 5 in a big way. Very strong tribal focus that which is proactively looking out towards rulemaking that will be happening.
Just add that I think most cities in general don't have active relationships with tribes specifically because they are their own governments and traditionally they worked with the federal government and maybe with state government, but they're an active participant in the rulemaking that's going on now that is going to start to build these relationships with local communities.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilor Patton.
I would just say when it comes to the cities' interaction with tribes, the folks that will probably be that would be good to mine information from would be Westland and Oregon City. I've gotten quite educated, being part of the Willamette Falls Land and Heritage Area Coalition and everything that's going on around the Willamette Falls. I have been quite quickly educated on all of that. And so that would, if you're talking about learning from people about those, like how to and where to and when to and all of that, those would be some good cities to chat with on how they do it.
Okay. All right, so I think next steps, based on my conversation with Mr. Ely, that seemed like the next couple of meetings. Does that suit council's wants and needs in terms of work sessions and laying out what's to come here in the next at least couple months? Okay. Then I will continue to work with Randy and march forward with that kind of piece. So if there's no other questions or comments for these fine gentlemen, we will adjourn our work session. Seeing none, all right. We will end the work session. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Ryan, thank you. Appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thank you. Canby, we are going to adjourn our work session and we will come to our city council meeting here in about 5 minutes. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the November 19th, 2025 City Council meeting. If you please stand for the invocation, and then we'll have a special flag and pledge ceremony here after that. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this great community. I am so blessed to be in this community. We are a community of doers, a community that supports each other, and a community that rallies in times of need. I thank you for the blessings that you give this city, the people that you have brought to leadership in this city, the people that live here and make Canby what it is. I thank you, and amen. So before we begin, we have special guests here this evening doing our Pledge of Allegiance, so I will turn it over to them.
Guard, attention. Audience, I see you're all rise. Please place your right hand over your heart. Bears, carry colors. Guard, break, turn. Forward, march. Guard, hold. Bears, set. Guard, present. Colors. Audience, please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guard, order, colors. Guard, ready, step. Guard, hold. Audience, please be seated. Guard, follow.
So if you please put your hands together and help me thanking the American Heritage Girls for helping us with our Pledge of Allegiance today. We're going to take a brief moment. Council, they would, for whatever reason, want a picture with us down here in front. So we'll do that real quick.
Tracy, you want to cut shoes for this one? Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great job. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Great job. Thank you. Thanks. Sure.
All right, definitely a special treat this evening, so thank you to them for being here and doing that. Council has been pretty active already this evening. We had a work session that started at 6, so we were, and actually before that, there was a community kind of thank you and get together for thanking community members that were on 10th Street and dealing with the paving and reconstruction and broken pipes and what else? More paving.
And Ivy.
And then South Ivy Street for the completion of that. That's been a 14-year labor of love for me. So many of us have been going since 5 o'clock, and so lots of good things going on. The work session was just about our comprehensive plan, so how we're going to grow for the next 10 to 20 years. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, please keep in touch with the city so you can keep up on being involved in that process and how you can be involved to help shape that in years to come. Next on the agenda is Small Business Saturday Proclamation. So this proclamation is, whereas the City of Canby, Oregon celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. Whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 34.85 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.9% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. Whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the U.S. stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. Whereas 64% of U.S. consumers aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at a small independently owned retailer or restaurant on Small Business Saturday 2024. Whereas Canby, Oregon supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. Whereas the City of Canby acknowledges the importance of shopping locally throughout the holiday season with the Shop Local Canby program, set to run from November 29th, 2025 through February 5th, 2026. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Hodson, Mayor of Canby, Oregon, do hereby proclaim November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday, celebrating its 16th year in 2025, and shop small throughout the year. I think Tyler and Shatrice, are you coming up as well? Sir, could we have that? Thank you. Now that's surgery, you have to come up.
It's true. That's great. And then I think we got this going, right? Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Tyler Nizer, Economic Development and Tourism Coordinator for the City of Canby, and I'm here with Shatrine Craik, the CEO over at the Canby Chamber of Commerce, and we are thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate Small Business Saturday. First, thank you guys so much for giving us the opportunity to speak, and our sincere appreciation for recognizing Small Business Saturday, as it is, so important to our businesses and our local economy. For many years, we have been part of the neighborhood champion in the American Express, and through that, 4 years ago, we started the Shop Local Canby card and program, and highlighting our local businesses. And so while it might just appear to highlight one Saturday in November, the message behind it is something our community relies on every day, which is that our local businesses are essential and they need our support year-round. And so that's how this program kind of began. And so I'll just shortly explain it here really quickly. Well, first we've got the Shop Local Canby card. So all the participating businesses will get these at their location. They will have a decal at the front of their business to welcome people in, let them know they're a participant. We will have a map around so that way people can find all the businesses participating. And essentially, you get rewarded for every $10 you spend. You could spend $10 per business per day to get a stamp. And then once that's all filled out, submit it into those businesses, and then we'll do a drawing at the end. Many of whom have decided to do a $50 gift card for the prize drawing, and we've got over 40 businesses already participating. So it's pretty awesome, and we're thrilled about that. And so we will be drawing after February 5th. February 5th is the first Thursday night market, which is the last day that people can come out and join. So from 5 to 8 p.m., the first Thursday night market, And that is the deadline. It begins on Small Business Saturday, which is November 29th. And so every year we have started something new and added to this program to continue to support our local businesses. And so that's why I have Shatreen here to explain what we are doing and our partnership, which I'm really excited about. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And it has been a joy to partner with the city and celebrate small businesses together. The fact that you all do a proclamation is fabulous. And so to build on that, when I found out you had these punch cards, I was like, what if we do something to really kick off the morning and talk about spending, get people local, get them coming in and investing in our community. And so we're doing some swag bags that are Shop Canby local. And the first 10 folks that go into our 40 businesses, they'll get a swag bag full with some goodies, and then they get 2 chances entered in to win we're calling it a little plethora of gift cards that's going to be given on the 1st of December. So they'll have 2 entries there, and then everybody else that purchases throughout the rest of the day to those 40 places will have 1 entry. So we're hoping people have their lists ready for shopping, for Christmas, for birthdays, for everything. They will go into our community, shop, buy, and be entered to win and have some opportunities. And then, of course, our gift cards are also always local. So we're really excited to do that.
And so we also wanted to expand on that and showcase all that Canby has to offer. And so we partnered together for Canby's Season of Cheer. So you will see that posted all throughout Canby. It's under the Grant Street Arch right now. It's in the Canby Advantage. It's in the Canby Herald, and actually the Carpenter Media, which owns a lot of those medias. It's in 14 publications and over 200,000 actual newspapers. So we're really excited that it's getting the word out there. It's showcasing that we have got first Thursday in December. The next date is Light Up the Night. And then Christmas in Canby. We've got the Winter Fair over at Clackamas County Fairgrounds. We've got the luncheon that's happening that same week over at the Chamber, Oaken Hood.
Yes.
Oaken Hood. So December 2nd?
Yes.
December 2nd. So lots of things going on in Canby, lots to be excited about. Shop here locally and support our local businesses. So thank you all.
Tyler had a phenomenal PowerPoint, but we can't figure out technology. Sorry. Great pictures.
Oh, maybe it wasn't on.
I think that
Yeah, it wasn't on.
Okay.
You just gotta turn the on button. So
Operator.
yeah, I mean, a lot of what we talked about, you could see the Canby card.
There's your visual.
There's the first Thursday night market.
I love it.
And then all the things about the dates. There's some of our marketing efforts together for the Small Business Saturday, and then the Canby Season of Cheer. So that says all the things up there, and we're really excited about all of those things. So thank you all, and thank you for supporting Canby and helping it thrive. We're excited.
Thank you very much. And if you will leave a couple of those cards
Yes.
for Teresa to pass down to us, that would be great.
Sounds great.
Wonderful.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to leave this on for the next person. So.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is first opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. This is an opportunity for audience members to address the city council on items not on the agenda. If you are attending in person, please grab a yellow card off the back podium there. Melody, if you'll raise your hand. Ms. Thompson, will you raise your hand? Higher. Yes, you. You're Miss. There you go. The podium next to the lady with her hand raised. Grab a yellow card. Thank you. Bring it to our deputy city recorder, and she will make sure I get it. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the council. If you wanted to do it via Zoom or Teams or your cell phone, please reach out to the city deputy recorder or the city recorder by 4:30 on the day of the city council meeting. Teresa, do we have anyone online? No. Okay. Then the one yellow card I have is Christy Moreeder Smith regarding Trans Day of Remembrance. Good evening, Christy. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So tonight I'm here to speak to the community about Transgender Day of Remembrance that's observed every year on November 20th. This day asks us to pause and honor the transgender and gender diverse people that were taken by violence and to acknowledge the ongoing crisis that makes this remembrance necessary. Transgender Day of Remembrance began in 1999 after the murder of Rita Hester. What started as a small vigil has grown into a global call for dignity, safety, and visibility for transgender people. Around the world, hundreds of transgender and gender diverse people have been murdered. The vast majority of them are trans women. Here in the United States, at least several dozen transgender people were killed in the past year, and we know that these numbers are likely a lot higher, but due to misreporting and misgendering, we don't have exact numbers. These are not statistics, however. They are neighbors, friends, and family members whose lives ended far too early. This violence does not happen in isolation. Across the country, we're seeing an alarming wave of legislation aimed at restricting gender-affirming care, limiting trans participation in public life, erasing trans identities in schools, and treating transgender existence as something controversial or dangerous. This political climate fuels stigma, and stigma creates the conditions for violence, discrimination, and despair. Transgender people, especially transgender youth and trans people of color, deserve safety, dignity, and support, and our city has a responsibility in that. We cannot claim to be an inclusive community while LGBTQ+ residents, including parents, youth, and elders, are saying openly, directly, and courageously that they do not feel emotionally safe here. But hope is not lost. We can choose differently. We can choose to build a Canby where we are supportive of all residents, including our transgender neighbors, especially those that feel emotionally and physically unsafe. Where policies are inclusive, where community partnerships are welcomed instead of avoided, where trans lives are seen as not just a political talking point, but as human, valuable, and worthy of protection and joy. Tonight, as we recognize Transgender Day of Remembrance, we honor those we've lost. We hold space for their families and communities, and we recommit ourselves to a future where remembrance is no longer necessary, but transgender people are able to live long, joyful, self-directed lives freely and proudly. Thank you.
That is all that I have in regards to citizen input and community announcements. We will move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda. It is the approval of the October 15th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Maldonado to approve the consent agenda, which includes the October 15th, 2025 City Council regular meeting minutes. Any question, comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Next on the agenda, item 5 tonight, ordinances and resolutions. Item A is ordinance number 1658, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to execute a service agreement with Direct Link for the renewal of Voice Connect services for the City of Canby, and it's a second reading. I don't know if there's anything more that we need to say on this at all, Randy?
I think we rest, ready for the second reading, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any comments at all?
No, I'll move to adopt ordinance number 1658, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to execute a service agreement with Direct Link for a renewal of Voice Connect services for the City of Canby.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Davis to approve ordinance number 1658, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to execute a service agreement with Direct Link for the renewal of Voice Connect services for the City of Canby. Second reading, roll call vote.
Councilor Patton?
Aye.
Councilor Maldonado?
Aye.
Council President Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor Davis?
Aye.
Councilor Stearns?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Item 5B, consider ordinance number 1659, an ordinance amending Chapter 2.04 of the Canby Municipal Code, first reading. Mr. Ely.
I am going to turn this over to Ms. Gamont.
Good evening, Council. It's nice to see everyone. So at the work session last week, Council worked through the remaining edits to the draft council rules. And as part of that process, Mr. Ely brought up the fact that many city councils like to take the show to the road sometimes, go to high schools, et cetera, to better access the community, more community engagement, which is a great idea, and council consensus was to pursue that. Maya pointed out, and a great catch on her part, that it is actually your city code in chapter 2.04 that requires the council to hold your council meetings in City Hall. So in order to have flexibility to conduct meetings outside of City Hall, we would need to amend the code. So that's exactly what we're doing here. This is a quick little ordinance that just, if you look at the red part on the attachment, it strikes the words that meetings will be held in council chambers of City Hall and replaces it with at a time and location to be set by this Canby City Council. So if adopted, that will give you the authority to take the show to the road. Questions?
Councilor Maldonado.
Are there limitations as to where we would be able to host our meetings?
Yes, under state law there are.
Okay.
We have to be able to have internet access and Zoom and all that
I
good
meant
stuff.
location-wise.
As long as that.
What are the restrictions, or besides being able to connect to people?
Yeah, let me pull up the statute real fast.
Just fast.
I know that Woodburn's been having theirs in a community park, for example, for during holidays.
Yeah.
Just by way of one example.
Okay, so under the law, it needs to be within the jurisdiction of the city. So those are your geographic grounds. And then the specific location needs to have a couple of characteristics. It has to be a non-discriminatory site. So a location that doesn't discriminate on the basis of any kind of protected class. It has to be accessible to persons with disabilities, so ADA compliant. And then one of the new developments, or newer, I suppose, developments to public meetings law is that if it's reasonably possible for the city to stream or give some sort of remote access to the public to view council meetings, then you have to do it. So such a location would have to have that capability as well.
Any other questions? No? I'll take a motion. Yes, Councilor Patton.
Let me get to it. I move to adopt ordinance number 1659, an ordinance amending chapter 2.04 of the Canby Municipal Code to a second reading on December 3rd, 2025.
Second.
And I will just say, I think this is a great idea to be able to do this sort of thing. And it's been mentioned many times that we should do something at the high school, whether it's with a government class or something over there. And I think putting it on the bubble to try and make that a thing this coming year would be awesome. To actually hold, work it out with folks, it would require some of us to take vacation time, obviously, but where if we could actually do a city council meeting during the day at the high school for students to participate and see how the process goes, I think that would be great. And it would force them to do something maybe that they don't want to do. And as a person who gets older every day, I find quite a bit of delight in forcing young people to do things they don't want to do.
You're gonna be the guy you're the get off my lawn guy.
I'm totally looking forward to that. Not there yet, but I'm getting really close.
All right. Discussion piece? No, okay. So I have a motion on the table and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, none, that carries 6-0. Jason, thank you. You're always a delight, sir. 5C, Resolution 1448A, a resolution repealing the Canby City Council's policies and operating guidelines adopted in December of 2018 and adopting new policies and operating guidelines under option A, or consider resolution number 1448B, a resolution repealing the Canby City Council's policies and operating guidelines adopted in December of 2018 and adopting new policies and operating guidelines under option B. Someone please want to break that down for us.
Yeah. Okay, so
confusing than it needed to
this
be.
was my bright at the time, but perhaps not so bright as it's playing out here, idea to address one of the questions that council had from the work session last time. So I'll skip ahead through the draft to that particular section. That's chapter 8, section 3. And if you want to scroll there, that begins on, for option A, that begins on page 84 of your packet. And for option B, that begins on page 135 of your packet. Sorry, 107 of your packet for option A, 135 for option B. And so what that was as part of the discussion, the mayor offered some thoughts about how the restriction on any council person's ability to represent the position of the city is limited to the official position of the city as specifically authorized to do so by the city council, so by official action of the city council. And Mayor, jump in if I'm misstating anything, but the organizations that you partake in on behalf of the city are sometimes moving quickly, sometimes, you know, there isn't time to come back to the council to get official authorization to do something on behalf of the city or represent something on behalf of the city. And that kind of, you know, limits your ability to partake in those things on behalf of the city. So the question to me was to figure out if there's some sort of middle ground, right? Balancing between having some sort of restriction on how council members can represent the city, but in a way that gives the mayors or others of you in similar situations some flexibility to deal with those real world situations as they arise. I thought about it a lot, and then I talked to folks at my firm who have a number of years more than I do in this area. And the conclusion we came to is there is not really a way to create generally applicable policy language that would offer some flexibility in a safe way. I don't know if safe's the right word, but there isn't really a good way to do this as a matter of policy. So given the fact that council wanted to see this tonight, we've got good momentum going. You guys are almost across the finish line for these. I came up with two possible solutions. One retains the language that says that no member of council can represent the position except as specifically authorized to do so. That's option A. Option B struck that language entirely and left only the restriction that staff may not do so. In case council wanted one option over the other. And then you could choose which one to adopt tonight rather than send staff back to the drafting board. So that's the option A, option B. I can pause there for questions and council discussion, or I can give you an overview of the other changes that I've made to this draft since the work session.
And I would just say, thank you, Emily. Staff recommends option B based on what she just said.
Okay.
For your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Council President Hensley.
Thank you. I would offer as a compromise the language just to be specific that no member of council or the mayor would testify before a board, another governing board. Acting in a role as the mayor does, and myself, if in his absence, as an alternate in C4, I think that's a different kind of work than representing the city when you're testifying before a governing board like the county commissioners or the legislature. Okay. That would be the specific language I think would be a good compromise. But I'm just throwing that out there. I'm only one vote.
Councilor Stearns.
I think it's I think having the general prohibition against stating something is the city opinion, at least for the councilors, maybe the mayor is a different case because the mayor sort of represents the city, but I have an opinion on everything. And if I say, somebody asks me my opinion, I usually try to be very careful and say, the council hasn't discussed this particular issue yet, so I'm just giving you my opinion. I think that's the best practice for everybody, unless it has come before the city and, the city has expressed an opinion. So I'm personally, I think that the rules should more reflect that you probably shouldn't be saying that something is the city opinion unless the city has made an opinion on it.
Yeah. And also the media on my thought there, testifying for a board or the media. Sorry.
Okay. Councilor Patton.
Yeah, so I read through this and understood where this was going. I am a fan for keeping the language or some modification of the language in here for a few reasons. One is that ultimately, by the city charter, the mayor is a representative of the city and of the council. He does not vote in things, and so it's the council that has a position on a thing, not necessarily just the mayor. And likewise for me, if I'm running around saying this is the council position, and really it's not, then where does the liability lie? At my feet, or because there's no language to say that you can't represent the city without understanding what the actual council wants or the city wants, then I'm just free to do whatever. So I think some language in here is good. One of the reasons why I'm a little apprehensive about it is because, Mr. Mayor, I think you might remember this conversation. When I was appointed to council a few years back, there was a time where this body was writing what I liked to term middle finger letters to the governor and such. And I made it very clear that I was not a fan of those things, and that letter better have a really good reason behind it if we're going to send it off as an official, not just an official statement from the council or the mayor or the city, but it actually represents all of the citizens of the city. Do all of the citizens of the city really feel this way or not? So we have not had that happen. But, then I got to thinking about the tolling thing, and it's like, the mayor and Council President Hensley and we go to these meetings and we talk about the tolling, and we've talked about that many times before, and so we all kind of know where the city's stance is on those things. We can say, this is the city stance, and I think this. But if it's a brand new thing, a letter saying, whatever to this organization or agency, whether it's something else, I think that to say that it is an official stance of the council or the city that this is a thing, it really needs to be talked about here first. And, I dare say that one thing I have learned about government in the many years I've been doing this is that things tend not to work really quickly. And so anybody to say that this is an emergency other than, like there's some actual emergency, a fire or something like that, which there's contingencies for. But if I go to a Clackamas City's dinner meeting and someone comes up to me and says, hey, I want you to sign off on this thing as a representative of Canby because, blah, 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 and it needs to be done right now, there's lots of people that feed money into Bitcoin machines and stuff too, and they should be taught not to do that. So I think some like guardrails and some cooling time is necessary for these things. So that's why I'm a fan of option A or some middle ground between that, but that's sort of my stance on that word.
Yes, Council President Hensley.
In the case of a letter, there's been times where we have signed letters, with regional partners, and the mayor has been given that time. C4 doesn't just demand it on the spot, which is great. I'm grateful for. He's been able to come back to us and say, hey, they want us to sign on to this letter. What do y'all think? And I think that would be the case going forward. So I think that we just need to find some kind of middle ground language. That if you're before signing onto a letter or speaking to the media or testifying before a board, you have the consent of the council. Acting in his role on the monthly meetings, that's a little different story. So I don't know how you wordsmith that, Emily, but before you make an official position, it's different than a working group, in my view, anyway. You're in it. What do you think, Mayor? I mean,
Sure.
you've brought us letters.
No, absolutely, no,
So-
not to be flippant, but yeah, again, my piece being,
You should be allowed to do your work, but
well, and if I'm doing my role as the mayor and bringing these things, if with enough notice in terms of conversation, then I know where the council stands, and I can toe that road. Like when we did to Councilor Patton's comment about the toll roads, we had lengthy conversation, and you guys were informed of that and what that looked like, and we took a position on that was not something that we wanted to support. I can go back and I can hash those things out. It is rare, especially at C4, that stuff comes up that is an immediate action point. It does happen, but it's not always a thing. It happens more at the Metro Mayor's meeting where they're wanting to take actions on. I'll go back to most recently, the mayor of Portland reached out to the Metro Mayor's Consortium and said, hey, I've got this letter, and the letter was basically denouncing the National Guard and ICE in Portland and wanted all of the mayors to sign on to it and to show up for a press conference and show solidarity with Portland and the mayor and whatnot. I did not see the letter until the day of or the night before, and so I did not weigh in on that because it was already like 9 o'clock at night and there wasn't anything that I could do in that regards. But that would be something that does come up. So is that the mayor making that raising his, me raising my hand saying, yeah, I support Portland in this letter and I'm signing on to it because it's going to be on there, Mayor Brian Hodson, City of Canby. And that's where what's the latitude in that, right? I mean, I can speak for me as mayor, this is where I stand. It's not necessarily the verbiage of the council. Sure. So that's that gray area that we get into, or I get into. And so what is that latitude? I mean, there have been mayors at those meetings that have said, sorry, I can't weigh in. I got a council meeting in 2 weeks. I can get back to you. But they're moving letters and things along. At that point, it's more of a moot point, but it can then open up conversation. So if an edited letter or something more along those lines is being done, then, that mayor, or in this case, me, would know, okay, well, my city's council feels very strongly that we don't want to do this, or we do want to do this, so we're on board, so.
yeah, I think before taking an official position, you should consult the council. I mean,
Especially if it's controversial. I appreciate you, Mayor, not signing it, not because I don't agree with it, but because
there wasn't time.
There was no time to, anything that's kind of controversial should have the county's or the council's support.
And honestly, the person proposing it should have allowed for you all to be able to get to your councils about it.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, but anytime I go down and I'm, testifying before the legislature, a lot of the folks down there know who I am and know my title. So I preface my speech by saying I'm here as an individual. I am not representing the council. And there's always that caveat. You need to disclose, yes, this is who I am, but I'm not here representing my board.
Yes, Councilor Waterman.
So I'm hearing I'm trying to figure out where the actual problem is then with option A. Because I hear a lot of conversation that's actually supporting option A and that we're already kind of doing option A. So I guess my question is, I'm not sure what exactly of your job is being prevented of being done by going with option A.
I don't know.
I feel like he is able to do his, I think it just got brought up as question because we were talking about the verbiage of it.
And I completely withdraw my comment because I just wanted to make sure that the staff part stayed in there.
Yes.
Pointed out, of course.
Yes, because,
Yes, Councilor Patton.
have that problem.
Yeah, and I guess for me, it's not necessarily you, Mr. Mayor. I know sometimes you can go crazy, I go crazy, we all, you know, have lapse in judgment every once in a while after a few trips to the tiki bar. You know, this is more or less these, you know, the way that I've seen doing this, we really didn't have language like this in our old policies and operating guidelines. And the whole goal of this was not only to update them because they were so old and learn from what other cities have done. And so by this being one of the things, because I think we determined that, if I remember correctly from the last meeting, we determined that the language up to the point where it talks about city staff representing the city to the media and stuff, all that other stuff was part of the boilerplate. So these are things that the League of Oregon Cities has recommended. Now, this says specifically for the mayor or a member of council or somebody to take an official stance to these organizations. I think that is very different from you, Mr. Mayor, at one of your meetings, or me at a Clackamas City's dinner meeting, or you know, Councilor Waterman at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon saying something, you know, that's a very different conversation than K2 out here saying, you know, why is the city hall on fire behind you? And you're saying it's not, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not our official position. So so that's why I'm a fan of keeping the verbiage as it is, including the city staff.
Okay. So am I hearing we're going with option A?
I hear. Looks like enough head nods to consider option A. Shall we walk through the remainder of the changes from last week? Just to make sure we're all on the same page?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Starting at the very beginning, on page 2, I'm scrolling back up there. There it is.
Page
Okay,
2 of the
someone had
policies,
a
yeah.
very, I can't remember which counselor it was, but someone had a very good idea to include a glossary of terms. And I thought that was excellent, and I had a grand time picking terms and defining them for folks. So this is your glossary of terms. If something's not on here and you think it should be, let me know right now so I can do that real quick. Or if there's a definition that doesn't make sense.
I like it.
Cool, okay. Next one is in chapter 1, section 6, sub E, sub 2, which is on, you go to page 4. Sorry, page 2, not page 4. And this is how agenda items make it onto the agenda via counselor request. So consensus from last time was an agenda item can make it on the agenda if 3 counselors support it. So we have 3 in there now. And then added language that the request must be made to staff at least 8 days preceding the meeting so that the sequencing is correct. We're shooting for packets out 7 days before the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, next one is on page 4, highlighted.
I think the battery is down.
So the revisions here were to keep language that each public comment period, the first and the second, won't exceed 30 minutes unless a majority of counselors present vote to extend the time before the public comment begins. So it gives the ability to extend when circumstances require. And then the second sentence aligns language with current practice for what kinds of public comment may be given in the first section and the second section. And please verify that that is right, because I got my brain a little twisted on that.
Yeah, it was backwards the first time around. This is corrected. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. To page 10. Okay.
Narrowly be held. Yeah, there we go. That's good.
This is the language that gives you flexibility to take the show to the road. I've said that like 5 times tonight. So this particular language will not be operative until your ordinance passes its second reading in the 30 days. But as soon as the ordinance is operative, this will become operative too.
We're not going to the road in 2 weeks, right? We're good.
No, we're good.
Can we just be on a float during the, like tonight? We can have a meeting there.
Have the meeting on the parade route, that'd be funny.
We're going to need a longer parade route.
Oh, we'd be done with the parade by 9 though, because that's in here too.
We already talked about the Chapter 8, Section 3. Option A was consensus there. The last change I have highlighted here is in Chapter 9, which is page 21 of the document. This change was to make it so that it's very clear that any council members' inquiries to staff are routed through your city administrator. So if you have a question for staff, contact your city administrator, and then be cognizant of how much staff time it may take to answer your questions. If staff time could be significant, then perhaps it's something better brought up in a public meeting. And then the second paragraph is highlighted there because I renumbered according to adjusting language.
Okay.
Just to, and I don't know if this is nitpicking or not, but how, if I ask a question, how do I know when I ask the question it's going to take more than 2 hours of staff time without having a lot of experience asking questions and being told how much time that question takes?
That's a good question. I imagine Randy would give you some feedback about.
Well, that'll take a while. That's what he'll say.
I'm just saying, is he going to say, I'm sorry that I'll need to vote for the council to do that, or?
He's just going to tell you no.
He's going to tell me no. Okay. No, I'm just wondering if that's just maybe, it seems like it's something that I would never know before I asked the question. I could imagine some questions that take longer than 2 hours.
I'll let you know.
I would say the general etiquette, though not called out here, would be that if you're reaching out to our economic development director with a question, you're CCing the city administrator, where he then can absolutely step in and say, that's going to be a little while, so that might be more of a council conversation piece. So again, etiquette being.
Just the administrator will be kind of the gatekeeper on that. Okay.
Correct.
I was just trying to imagine how I would know whether it was 1 hour and 59 minutes or 2 hours and 1 minute.
Well, and when in doubt, just email the city administrator and he can then say, great, let me pass this on to the economic development director and whatnot. So, yeah. Yes, Councilor Waterman.
And I also think it's more of also that he has a guideline that he can come back to you and say, the reason why we're not talking about this right now because it will take more than X amount of time. Right. And so that you know that he's done some due diligence.
Valid point. Thank you, sir.
And if you run into Todd at Fred Meyer, just jump into the bin of squashes and pretend you weren't there. So that way you can avoid all interaction with city staff.
Jump into the bin of squashes.
There's a story there, but we're going to move on. Is there anything?
Do you want that in the rules?
No, that might be silly.
Okay.
Let's keep her moving, please.
We don't need squirrels or squashes in our policies.
So is there
Very tempted.
any other changes, Emily, to highlight?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, we're not there yet. Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion?
I believe that there's any other comments or questions on edits that were made last Wednesday? No? Okay, go ahead.
I move to adopt Resolution 1448A, and a resolution repealing the Canby City Council's policies and operating guidelines adopted in December of 2018, and adopting new policies and operation guidelines, option A.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Stearns to adopt resolution number 1448A, a resolution repealing the Canby City Council's policies and operating guidelines adopted in December of 2018 and adopting new policies and operating guidelines, including option A. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Patton.
I just want to thank Councilor Davis and Council President Hensley, as well as Maya and Emily and all the folks that played a huge role in getting this across the finish line. This was a big lift, and this is something that the council has needed to do for many years, and it is awesome to see this come to fruition. And thank you, fellow councilors, for being so thoughtful in going through this and cleaning it up and making it a document that we can stand behind. And this has been a very good test and sort of laid out the roadmap for, I think, what sort of process it's going to take to update the city charter, because those will be some of the next meetings that I will be pushing for. And then also updating all of the policies and guidelines around our other boards and commissions and stuff. So I'm super excited to see this go across the finish line. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to our next project.
Great. All right. Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. It
Now it's
passes.
official. Yes.
We now have new guidelines. All right.
Which means we have an hour and 8 minutes left.
I like that one.
Item 5D, consider resolution number 1449, a resolution authorizing the interim city administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County for the provision and reimbursement of expanded elderly and disabled demand response transit service for fiscal years 2026 and 2027.
Well,
good evening. Hello. The floor is yours.
Evening, Council. Heidi Muller, Transit Operations Director, or Manager, sorry. Fighting a cold, so my apologies. So this agreement here is just an extension for a 2-year agreement that is with an agreement we had last year with Clackamas County for expansion of dial ride outside our boundary. This agreement is for 2 years instead of 1 year. And it's also going to include adding electronic payment services that we are actively working on with the county. So pretty soon people will be able to actually use their cell phone to scan a QR code and pay their bus fare on our buses pretty soon. So that's something that's coming soon. So this agreement will be retroed back to July 1 once you guys hopefully approve it. And it is for a little bit less money than last year's agreement because the program wasn't as successful as we hoped, but we're hoping that we'll be getting some more riders out of it.
Great. Any questions for Ms. Muller? Okay. Yes, sir.
I move to adopt Resolution 1449, a resolution authorizing the interim city administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County for the provision and reimbursement of expanded elderly and disabled demand response transit services for fiscal years 2026-2027.
Second.
The motion has been made by Councilor Waterman and seconded by Councilor Maldonado to adopt resolution number 1449, a resolution authorizing the interim city administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County for the provision and reimbursement of expanded elderly and disabled demand response transit services for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 6-0.
All right,
Thank you, Heidi. Feel better.
Yeah, I feel better.
I don't recommend the cold.
Yucky.
All right, next on the agenda is item 6, old business, which I don't think we have any. So we'll move on to item 7, 2 items under new business. First one, a library strategic plan for 2024 to 2027 update. Miss Marissa Ely.
not related to our interim city administrator, spelled differently. Also, I'm going to try.
Spelled differently, though.
Yes, E-L-Y, E-A-L-Y. But they probably pronounce your name correctly. They never pronounce my name correctly. Also, just to preface this, I hope I don't yawn. I'm normally in bed by 7:45 in the winter, so just
Oh, you're
know
just
that
bored
I'm
by us,
exhausted.
we know.
Good for you.
Okay, all right. I have about 22 slides, but this will take about 15 minutes, and if you have questions, there'll be time at the end, of course.
Great.
All right, so hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and the greater Canby community. My name is Marissa Ely, and I am the Library Director of our Canby Public Library. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present on our strategic plan progress in year one. All right, I wanted to start off my presentation with one of my favorite quotes, and it's by R. David Lanke's. Bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, and great libraries build communities. So libraries are always evolving in their purpose and their impact. A bad library focuses only on accumulating materials without thinking about how people actually use and engage with those materials. A good library then goes further by offering programs and services that meet community needs, because it's not just about what's on the shelves, but it's also about how people use what's there. And finally, a great library becomes a hub where people come together to learn and connect. It supports civic life, strengthening the social fabric of the community. It's really about moving from things to helping people use those things to bringing people together in meaningful ways. And this is what our library strives to do every single day. All right, so as you know, I'm here to report on the progress of year one of our 2024 to 2027 strategic plan and share how our team is advancing equity, connection, and education for a growing Canby, which we're over 19,000 now, woohoo. So as you know, we did create new vision and mission statements for the library with our strategic plan that I presented about a year ago. And I'm not gonna read these out loud, but I'll paraphrase them. Essentially, they say that our library is a safe, community-focused place that supports learning and growth through great services and caring interactions. The end goal is, of course, to strengthen the entire community in the process, not just our library users. So to go over our first strategic priority, don't need to read all of the slides. I'm going to basically summarize them for you. But strategic priority number one is advancing community education and outreach. And we wanted to do this in 4 different ways. First off, by engaging those in our service area, which goes a little bit beyond the Canby city limits. And we wanted to engage with the schools, our educators and students, our community by participating in more outreach events, partnering with other city departments, local businesses, and organizations. We also wanted to increase library card registrations, which I'll show you that we did. We did also want to leverage social media to educate our users on how best to interact with our resources and also to just let them know about what we have in general. We also wanted to apply for and utilize grant funding to expand services to underserved communities especially. And then finally, we wanted to support workforce and career development with dedicated resources and education. So an update to this first strategic priority, we've done a lot around this one. We've had 91 in-reach and outreach events and activities that saw over 4,200 participants. And by in-reach and outreach, I mean things like going to community events, but I also mean attending and hosting school visits, going to summer school lunches and passing out books, going to family literacy night programs, or having an educator resource booth at open house nights. So that's some of the in-reach and outreach events. We also increased our library card registrations by over 1,200, and we're hoping to continue growing that number as people find out about the library and everything we provide. Our social media engagement went up an average of about 18%, which is actually pretty big for a community our size, so we're pretty happy about that. And if you've been paying attention to any of our social media, we've been trying to create some humorous videos to show what we have to offer. So I would recommend you watch them because they're funny and very well done. I did not do them, so I can say that. So we also secured over $75,000 in grants and donations this past year, and we hosted a career fair and opened a grant-funded career center. So a little bit about our Career Center. It opened on September 2nd, just a couple months ago, and the whole goal of the Career Center was really to expand services around workforce development to not only help people in Canby find jobs, but to help businesses find people to take those jobs. And so we provide dedicated equipment like computers and a laptop. We have other resources that people can take home for free. We also have assistance for job searching and applications, resume building, interview prep, and skill building. So if you're interested, the Career Center is to the right of the adult computers, and you should go check it out sometime. It's pretty cool. And entirely grant funded. So because it's a grant funded initiative, our Career Center, we do have to keep some data, nothing personal, of course. But I wanted to show you some of the data that we had in that first year and couple months. Majority of folks are using our Career Center for job searching and application help, resume help, and interview prep. And actually, majority of the people who've used the Career Center have already found some level of success in using our resources, whether it's finding a job or actually just getting interviews because of their applications. So really, really excited about that. Okay, moving right along. Strategic priority number 2 is building community through quality programming and services. And we wanted to address this in 3 ways. 1, we wanted to focus on removing barriers and creating more opportunities to stimulate curiosity and lifelong learning for all ages. And we wanted to do that by delivering more programs around other cultures and communities, developing more seed library programs related to gardening and sustainability, which is a big need of our community and a big ask that we've been happy to fill. We've also wanted to develop more Maker Lab STEAM programming, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. And then we also wanted to connect all of our services back to the resources that we already have so people can continue learning at home. We also continuing to create, our annual feedback survey, which is just a short survey that we have open every year for about a month, usually the month of May. And that is just to get feedback from the community on what we're doing well and what we could improve upon. And then finally, we wanted to engage the community to help spread our library's value. And we've been doing that by leveraging partnerships with local community groups, empowering our volunteers to be vocal about the library, and then also planning our annual library open house, which usually coincides with that feedback survey. So an update to our strategic priority number 2. We've done a lot this year so far around the strategic priority as well. We've put on 6 bilingual story times and 14 sensory-friendly play groups, and that's in partnership with Todos Juntos, which is an organization that is very near and dear to our hearts, and we're very grateful to have their partnership. We also had 31 age-inclusive Maker Lab STEAM activities, 17 monthly passive programs for all ages and abilities. We launched a seed library with over 4,500 checkouts in the first year. And I put checkouts in quotes because nobody has to return the seeds. They can just keep them. Yeah, exactly. And then we also had 11 seed library workshops. In addition, we hosted our second library open house with 167 attendees, which is a pretty good turnout for something like that. And our open house is really just a really fun time where people can come and learn about the services that we have, and also usually do some fun activities and whatnot. So it's a good time. And then finally, we had a very robust group of volunteers this past year, 38 volunteers that performed over 1,800 volunteer hours, and that's a value of over $65,000, which is a huge deal knowing that we do not have that library page position anymore. So we're also very grateful to our volunteers, and I want to make sure I say that 1,000,000 times because they're working for free and we appreciate it. Okay, a major highlight this past year has been creating, opening, and using our Maker Lab, which is a dedicated space for STEAM programming. Like I said, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And this exciting initiative was made possible thanks to generous, and I mean generous and continued support from the Kiwanis Club of Canby, very important to us, our Library Foundation, and the Friends of the Library. And we're deeply grateful to all of these organizations for helping bring this learning space to our community. And I have a couple friends board members here, so thank you. They know I say it. Okay. Our programming has also seen a steady growth over the past year, reflecting a meaningful impact through increased access, higher participation, and stronger community connections. So you'll see here our programming numbers have essentially gone up. The red color is the adult programming. That's been steadily increasing. So has teen programming. And it looks like children's programming has dipped lower, but that's only because we created a new category that's general interest programming. And so some of those stats actually got funneled there. So it's not really a decrease, but I'm keeping it there. Our most recent 2025 library survey results, I didn't want to share everything because there's a lot in there, but generally this is what I thought would be best to share with you all. Respondents appreciated the most our books and our collections, our friendly and helpful staff, and also the fact that our library is a safe, welcoming, and quiet place. Usually quiet is what I should have said. Sometimes we've got kids singing during story time, and that's always fun too. Top concerns for the community were open hours, access to a wide variety of books and materials for all ages, spaces and programs for our after-school teens, and career and job help. And everything with a star we've been really focusing on this year because those are the things that we can actually address right now. So that's what we've been doing. Okay, this is the final strategic priority. I'm getting there. All right, strategic priority number 3 is improving departmental and organizational health and stability. And we wanted to do that by ensuring strong relationships between the Library Advisory Board, our Library Foundation, and the Friends of the Library. We also want to continue to foster relationships with you all on City Council, other city departments, and community stakeholders. And then finally, we did find it to be very important to invest in organizational culture, staff well-being, and growth. And I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide. So an update to strategic priority number 3, the library has strengthened our departmental and organizational health and stability through expanded community and board engagement. For example, I recently joined the Canby Kiwanis Foundation board, and I've really been enjoying working with them since I actually became a member a little over a year ago. We had one joint meeting, and we're in the process of planning our second joint meeting between the Friends of the Library Advisory Board, the Library Foundation, and the Canby Kiwanis Club, so each of the groups can work together to make sure we are all successful. I presented a couple different presentations to you all. Our strategic plan presentation this time last year. Really can't believe that it's been a year already. Did a library funding presentation in April, and then we had our Civic Engagement Academy presentation in March, and I'm starting my second Civic Engagement Academy presentation already, so that's fun too. We've been focusing a lot on partnering with local organizations and businesses, which is why that Small Business Saturday proclamation was perfect timing. We've been trying to keep as much as we possibly can in the library within Canby as well. We also created a new community bulletin board, which is at the front of the library on the right-hand side, so folks can post things that they want the community to know about. We have almost an entirely new library team from when I started over 8 years ago, which is why we found it important to conduct a staffing operational assessment to align with our needs and also our budget. I started creating Monday memos for staff, which are essentially little memos that go out every Monday before anyone gets in. So it has all of the programs going on. It has reminders they need to know about. That way, if somebody comes in on Monday morning and they don't have time to read any email, they can look at that memo and know what they need to be paying attention to that week. And then finally, this past October, we had our most recent annual staff development day. Okay, a couple slides more. Now I want to show you some statistics that saw large increases this past year. Again, here are some of our biggest number highlights, and I'm going to show you some graphs of these numbers on the following slides. So meeting room usage and reference questions have soared this year as more community members engage with our services. And I'm going to ignore fiscal year 2021 and 21-22 because those are the COVID years and they really mucked everything up. But meeting room usage increased by more than 78% between fiscal year 22-23, that middle fiscal year, and fiscal year 24-25, 78% increase. And reference questions increased by more than 63% in that same time period. So this just shows you people are using the library for many different reasons, and the numbers are showing that. Despite a static collection budget, the library has also seen strong growth in both physical and digital checkouts. There are a lot of other linked libraries that have been seeing growth in digital checkouts, but decreases in physical checkouts. Canby is very unique in that we are increasing both, which I love. Physical checkouts have increased by over 15% between fiscal year 22-23 and 24-25, and digital checkouts increased by more than 54% in that time period. So people are checking stuff out, and we're enjoying seeing those numbers rise. Speaking of numbers that rise, library visits continue to rise, with this past fiscal year surpassing over 101,000 visitors, which is a milestone that underscores the library's role as a vibrant community hub. And as far as I know, this is the first time we've ever surpassed 100,000, so really excited about that. Library visits basically increased by almost 14% between fiscal year 22-23 and 24-25. All right, what's next? Looking ahead to 2025 and 2026, there's a few things that we really want to focus on this year, and a few of those include expanding our Maker Lab STEAM programs and our Career Center related programs. We want to focus on accessibility by broadening outreach efforts, especially to those who cannot come into the physical library building. We also want to continue to remove access barriers where possible. And actually, as of today, Canby Graphics dropped off a bunch of large print signage for all of our collections in the library. And that was a grant-funded initiative as well, thanks to a grant from the American Library Association on accessibility. So the goal is really, once you walk into the library, if you look out into all the collections, you can see signage that's big enough that tells you where everything is. And the signage is big, I'll tell you that. It's in my office taking up a lot of space. But it'll go up this week. We also want to continue growing cross-department partnerships, working on grant applications with community organizations, one of which I just finished with our Friends of the Library group. We also want to review our Oregon Library Association threshold standards to make sure we are meeting the standards for a community our size. And then finally, we also want to continue working on your council goal and objective, which is promoting financial stability and developing a plan to fund current and expanded library services. So I wanted to leave you with the words of some of your very own community members. Our community describes the library as a safe, welcoming, and inspiring place where they feel valued, loved, and supported. They appreciate the wide variety of books, programs, and opportunities that make the library a place of choice, learning, and connection for the entire community. And it's really words like these that inspire our staff to do what we do every day. That's only a couple of them. I've got way more here. All right, so together, these achievements from the first year of our strategic plan show how the library continues to educate and connect our community. And I just wanted to thank you again for your continued support. And we look forward to growing and welcoming even more people through our doors in the year ahead. And I totally missed this before, but when I was talking about the Maker Lab, I did want to show you some of our little 3D prints. We do a lot of stuff in the Maker Lab, but these are the more fun ones. Right now, it's Dino-Vember in the library, so we're doing a lot of dinosaur-related programming. And so our 3D printers printed some fun little T-Rexes and other things. And this was from our community reads last year. It's obviously an octopus. All three 3D printed. And I will also just take the time to thank Philip Yoakum, our children's librarian, for creating that space. He really created that space from nothing, thanks to the support we've gotten from different community organizations. So Unless you guys have any questions, that's my last slide.
I don't have a question, Marissa, other than just to say thank you. You have continued, you hit the ground running and it's just it has been nonstop. Your energy has been contagious throughout the library, and these results don't surprise me because I know the effort that you put into it, your team puts into it, and your volunteers put into it. Congratulations on over 100,000 visitors. That's a big deal.
Huge.
Yeah. And then I was able to attend when you did speak at the Civic Engagement Academy. There was so much information in there that I think I think community members were surprised at one, how underfunded things are, but two, what actually gets accomplished on the funds that we do have. And so I think in a lot of cases, LDAC, I'm just going to open up that Pandora's box
Go
here.
for it.
I think has failed miserably and has done a disservice to Canby Library. And I think their recent efforts were paltry at best. I think you have shown that group that we can squeeze water from a rock, though it takes a lot of effort, a lot of long hours, and way too much hard work to get that accomplished. And so we built this building with the mindset of we wanted this place to be able to evolve. Council President Hensley and I can go back and, we heard often, libraries are dying, libraries are going away, libraries are not significant places, right? And so, yeah, you're being faced with a multi-million-dollar project and you've got people that say that they're going away, but yet here we are, we've eclipsed 100,000 visitors in this building to do a variety of things. And so keep up the great work. Tell your team thank you. And that you guys are all very much appreciated. And thank you to the volunteers that show up and grind that out as well. That's a lot. So
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Waterman.
Hi. Yes, very much. Thank you so much for all that you guys do. And I'm very much looking forward to budget time coming up, because I also want to recognize that while a lot of that work goes into doing this, that in order to continue having good service here in Canby, our staff can't be run into the ground providing it as well. So we need to make sure that your staffing is able to provide what the community wants and needs. And so that we can see if we can find a way to do that. Thanks.
Councilor Patton.
I also wanted to commend you on the job that you have done with the library, you, your staff, and the Friends of the Library Board, and all the volunteers that help you get this over the finish line. It has been amazing to see the transformation that you have brought to that building over your short tenure as the director there. I find your videos hilarious and educational, so I do see them in my Facebook feed. And I will say that as the only counselor up here, because that is how old I am, I guess you could say, that was actually part of the original group that voted to use funding to build that library, ultimately to build this building, I do not regret the decision that I made. I think that our library is second to none for what we put into it. And I echo Council Waterman's sentiment that we need to ensure that it is funded in order to continue those services to this community.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Ely.
While we're at it, I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to get with Marissa, so I just wanted to say in front of you all, she's a brilliant piece of our leadership team. When we have our meetings, she a valuable, trusted confidant of mine, confidant. And so I just wanted to say in front of you all, A+ contributor to your leadership staff. So lucky to have her on the team. Thank you for all you do, Marissa.
Appreciate it.
Great job.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
All right. Item B under new business, the potentially canceling December 17th, 2025 council meeting? Question mark? Should we cancel that?
I say no. If we're adding Wednesdays, why are we going to cancel?
I second that. No. I'm booked out to try to fit anything in. Yeah, no, I'm booked out to end of December, probably middle of January.
So what, you're saying yes, have it, or no, don't?
Yes, have it for the 17th.
Yeah, I mean, if we're adding Wednesdays to get all of our work session stuff done, I don't see how it makes sense to cancel them. And it's not like it's the week of Christmas. So.
Yeah. Councilor Patton?
I would agree. I think if we can, I would say that if we have, if they're like, have the opportunity that if there is something that comes up that we need an official city council agenda, that would make sense. But otherwise, I think if we had a work session that ran from 6 to 9, we could maybe plow through a bit of what Don needs to get us to have us weigh in on for the comp plan update. And so, and I think there's maybe some smaller work session nuggets that might need to be digested. So, if we do, I'm a fan of, like trying to squeeze one last thing in there. So, if it's, let's talk about the comp plan stuff, but we're also going to put on the agenda this one other smaller thing or something like that. So if we get done with that and we still have some time left, we can maybe either tackle or start to tackle the next thing on the list, I think would be wise.
I'm good for the 17th. I think it should happen. It's not the week of Christmas or anything like that, and I don't have any plans to go anywhere, so.
Okay. Anyone?
I'm good with the 17th. I don't have any other plans, so.
Jim, not? Good. I guess we're on for the 17th then.
Thank you.
Randy, Maya, Teresa, and I will work on an agenda for the next couple weeks.
Not the 20th.
Yeah, we're not going to meet Christmas Eve for that.
Are you sure? I mean, there's a lot to do.
If we do, you're bringing me milk and cookies.
I do not want to impede on Santa Claus. Okay. So the meeting stays. So we're looking at the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th for December all. Thank you. I want to make sure I have chocolate chip cookies later. Moving into mayor's business, I don't have much of anything other than to make sure that everyone has marked the first Friday in December for Light the Night. Counselors, there is a parade. I would hope to see that all of us out there and maybe walk as a group as we've done the last couple of years. I think that'd be great. Jason, next year we'll build a float for us. So, or was that for 4th of July?
We can do both.
Okay.
I'll put 2 more plates in the air. We'll see if one survives.
Put the mics on.
And this is not, maybe somebody up here knows this or in the crowd. Is the Kiwanis team doing a food and toy drive? They are. Okay.
Their barrels are out.
Their barrels are out. Okay.
Yeah, and it's toys, new unwrapped, new toys, or you can go to their website, you can donate funds. They prefer to not have canned goods and things. Thank you. I'm channeling my inner Councilor Patton here, not turning on my mic.
That's all right.
And so anyway, they would prefer to have cash donations on their website because they buy gift cards and give the families gift cards for the foods.
Yeah, they do that and gift cards for the teenagers since there's not much in the way of gifts.
It's hard to get toys for kids that are older, yeah.
Okay, well, usually we do a proclamation for the toy drive and haven't seen that come across yet. And so I'm glad to hear that is going to happen. So if you see the barrels out, throw a toy or 2 or 3 in there. And I'm sure they will have availability coming up to help sort and distribute those. If you've never done that, that is really a heartwarming and fun afternoon. just loading up kind of gift bags for the families and whatnot. So please give and give often. I know there's this time of year, there's a lot of need. I know we still have families that are reeling from the pause and SNAP benefits that occurred. And so the food bank has been pilfered pretty well. Could definitely use some more canned items and non-perishables there as well. So I have nothing else, so we'll go into councilor comments and liaison reports, and I'll start with Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have a couple of things. I have from the Traffic Safety Commission, we had some citizen input. There's, it's a common theme. There's speeding pretty much everywhere. So if you live in the area of Ivy, north of, or actually I guess it's south of 13th, slow down. They are actually looking towards, when we take over those roads, they'll probably do a speed limit change all the way to the bridge, but until that happens, just please be mindful of that area there. And with the new housing there's a lot of people crossing the road there now, and so they're really wanting from 13th to Goods Bridge, slow down a bit. Also over by Eccles Elementary, we had citizens come in about the stop sign at 5th and Douglas. It's kind of hard to see, especially when the buses are there in the mornings. That they're calling it the 30% stop because a third of them stop, a third of them don't, and a third of them just kind of roll through it a little bit. So it's the neighbors are calling it that. So be mindful of that. The stop sign there, they're looking at other ways to make that a little more visible for folks. And then also South End and 99E, even though it's not in our jurisdiction, we are looking at ways that we can probably try to make that a little safer. Many years we've talked about, and Councilor Davis knows it, we need a light there, but ODOT's not been too amicable to that idea. So we're looking at ways to maybe just extend that 45-mile-an-hour speed limit to South End. It starts here by just past New Era, but take it all the way down. So maybe if we slow everybody down, it'd be safer. So Clint's charged with doing the research on that, but may come before you guys if we need to maybe partner with the BCC to get that done, because we might have to lobby as a region to the ODOT to get that done. So I will keep you abreast of those conversations, and that, Mr. Mayor, is all I have tonight.
Great. As you were talking there, Mr. Ely, if you wouldn't mind looking into on the traffic safety front, the new signal that's at South Ivy and Township I saw a couple people trying to cross there recently, and there does not appear to be crosswalk buttons and signal, though there's a crosswalk there. Can you maybe look into or
crosswalk with no buttons, or
it doesn't appear to be that there's the button to activate a crosswalk signal.
Okay.
And there's no crosswalk signal to activate.
All right.
So it's a little like playing Frogger crossing that crosswalk, and so
Ivy and where? What was that?
Ivy and Township, the new signal there.
Oh, the new flashing, which eventually will be able to.
Yeah. So we just noticed that, and I'm not sure if it's still coming or what the plan is. So
okay.
We'll do that. I need to step out for a moment, so I will turn it over to Council President Hensley, and Councilor Patton, you can give your report.
Okay, and you've already done your mayor's business?
I'm done with mine, yes.
Okay, then, Councilor Patton, Councilor Notes.
Thank you very much. So first, I just wanted to say I attended the grand opening event for South Ivy Street and 10th Northeast 10th Avenue, or what is it, Northeast? Yeah, 10th. You know, and those 10th, you know, was a hot mess. That street was old. There was a lot of stuff going on over there. So first, I just want to thank everybody who attended that meeting and came out and gave feedback. For those that had a positive experience, I'm glad you did, and thank you for sharing that. For those of you who have not had a positive experience, I am sorry that you did not have a positive experience. And while there is maybe something, well, there might not be much we can do about it now, the hope, and as Randy had said many times during it, that The goal is to learn from this and ensure that we do not repeat the same mistakes again with the next project, because the next big project over there for those folks is going to be redoing Pine Street. So, and that is going to be in a similar situation to that. So again, thank you very much, everybody who came out to that. For, I will throw out this, I will harangue Brian, the mayor, once he gets back later, but now that we have gotten the council policies and operating guidelines over the threshold, I am going to advocate that the subcommittee who was going to talk about the city charter updates get our first meeting on the calendar for sometime in January. That would be you, Council President Hensley, Councilor Stearns, and the mayor and I. Primarily, obviously tax time is going to be coming up for Councilor Stearns, so this is going to be a semi-long process. And so I think the January meeting would be good to sort of lay some ground rules, get an understanding of where we're next steps and what we're gonna do, so that in the coming months, we can start to dig into that and do it in an orderly fashion. I envision it taking several years to get it done because there's only so much money you can budget for all of the votes. And I think it's gonna take several votes in an effort to make sure we get the updates we would like without killing all the other ones and such. So I'm gonna advocate for a meeting for that in January. And then I am going to steal the mayor's thunder a little bit here because I am surprised that in his update, he did not mention that homeowners who have deciduous trees in their yards, be sure not to rake your leaves into the roadway. It is not the city's responsibility to pick up your leaves. We do not have that ability. I did not hear if Public Works was doing a leaf drop-off this year.
They are.
So there is that someone, I don't know about the dates, but I'm sure someone here does and can comment on that. But the fact of the matter is the city's street sweeper is not designed to suck up those leaves. And case in point, it caught on fire because of the leaves some time ago and is out of commission at the moment and still out of commission, I believe.
One of them, yeah.
Yes, so this is why it is important for you to not rake your leaves into the road, because you will set our equipment on fire and then everybody loses in that situation. So again, make sure you rake them up. You can put them in your yard debris bin. You can fill up extra bags and leave them out for Canby disposal to come and pick them up, or you can take them to Public Works for the leaf drop off during those times and such. So please be cognizant of that. And that is all that is all I can remember to talk about at this point in time.
Okay, and the Public Works leaf drop off, you cannot leave them in a bag. You have to dump them out of your bags. You can drop them off at Public Works Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And now I'm gonna give this back to the mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Maldonado.
No reports to give at this time. However, I would like to say thank you to the subcommittee. That was great. That was so perfectly done. You guys did such a great job that even with the questions that we had, it was very minimal. So thank you for that. The other thing I would like to say is we are kind of piggyback on what the mayor had said earlier. We are coming to the season of being thankful and also giving. Giving does not mean you have to give money, you have to donate money. Donate your time. There's people out there that are going to need your time, your help. Donate at the food bank, donate to your neighbor, donate to your church. Just try to make yourself useful and helpful to the people around you.
Yes, sir. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me turn this on. First of all, Randy, thank you for setting up the 10th Street Ivy open house. That was great.
Yeah.
Good way to bring the community together, so nice job with that. And also thank you for attending the Park and Rec Committee meeting last night as well. It was nice to have you there. Very quickly on the Canby Adult Center, under Kathy's report, boy, a lot of stuff is happening up there in regards to activities. And this is a busy time of year for them, but they had the volunteer appreciation where they had 90 volunteers attending and thanking the volunteers that participate up at the Canby Adult Center. The Thanksgiving lunch, which will occur on November the 20th, they're full, have 126 people attending the Thanksgiving lunch up there. So great job on that. They are also in fundraising mode for raising funds for the new Canby Adult Center. And they actually have a company that's working for them in regards to designing the plan moving forward for raising funds for the Canby Adult Center. One of them was the Rotary Dinner and Auction on November 1st, resulting in about $20K match and another $27K raised for the paddle raise for a building project. Every year the Canby Rotary does a project, the president does a project, and in this case, the president's Jim Hunziker, and his project is to actually redo the entire picnic area up there with where the wood structure is and stuff like that. And then if funds are still available, do a nice walkway over to the Canby Adult Center as his president project moving forward. They are going to be closed on November 27th and 28th and December 25th and 26th and January 1st. So Kathy's doing a great job up there, and bear with me while I get over to the Park and Rec. Great job to Public Works and to the city staff for their work. Auburn Farms, if you haven't been by there, they're doing really well up there in regards to Auburn Farms off of Locust. One thing that had to be done is that they found that the gazebos that were slated for there were smaller than what they thought, and so there's a change order to increase the size of those so that they can fit 4 8-foot tables in there. And that's $21,000 times 3, which is $63,000. But with that said, it's also $100,000, Randy?
Million.
$1 million under budget. What was the original budget?
Original, yeah.
So it's right now it's doing very, very well. They are still working on soliciting applications for naming that park, which will come in front of the city council eventually with the recommendation from the Park and Rec Committee. They've only gotten 3 names in so far. And so if you're interested in naming that park, just go online and solicit an application for the name of that park. There's going to be a meeting for the pool upgrades that is scheduled. Randy's going to be there with the staff to look at the pool upgrades as they're moving forward. Friday. Counselor. Yeah, this Friday. Representatives from the bike group were there, and they were wondering about the striping of the bike trail. Of course, this isn't time of the year to be painting the bike trail in regards to stripes on the bike trail, but out of the blue, they start talking about widening the bike trail too, which isn't anywhere in the budget at this point. So they are looking at, Public Works will get them a cost in regards to what they'd be looking at for actually widening the bike trail before they paint it. So don't worry about that. If it goes anywhere, and especially with our budget process, I kind of doubt that it's going to go too far, but we will look into it.
Sorry, just for clarification, this was brought to the park?
To the Park and Rec through the bike.
Got it.
Yep. Sorry I'm taking so long, but it was a busy meeting last night. Ivy Ridge Park, which is a piece of property that was slated for a park up in Ivy Ridge. It doesn't have sidewalks. City's going to work on finishing the sidewalks there for the neighborhood association because it just kind of dead ends where that property is with no sidewalks and stuff. So Randy's on that as well with Public Works moving forward. There was discussion around building budgeting for and building a new bathroom facility at Maple Street Park because of the fact that there's so many softball games up there, and baseball is going to be increasing their games up there. And if you don't know, there's only one male stall and one female stall up there. And so they've started pricing that out to increase that to 5 for each, male and female. And it would go where the basketball hoops are at. And then it is eligible for 50%, Randy, about 50% of the SDCs if they chose to, if the city council chooses to do that, but that would come in front of you as well. So that's a positive. Now, there was a discussion around the park maintenance fee.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get comfortable.
I do want to thank the city administrator for bringing the necessary documentation to the committee in regards to the expenditures that are being taken out of the park maintenance fee. There was some feelings that the park maintenance fee should not include labor, but looking back and reading up on that from when it was presented by then City Administrator Rick Robinson, and you guys were here, in regards to when it was first initiated, it's open for interpretation as to whether or not labor should be taken out of the park maintenance fee by a member of the Park and Rec Committee. And so I do urge us, as this does approach us coming up here soon, that this group or the city administrator meet with the Park and Rec Committee, the new finance director, and look at the ordinance for the park maintenance fee and make a recommendation to the council. But Mayor, I think that we should slate that somewhere soon in regards to start looking at that as an item in a work session so that we can bring the entire council up to speed. Because we do have some new council members that weren't here or privileged to the ordinance for the park maintenance fee. So that was discussed for quite a while at the meeting. But again, thank you, Randy, for bringing the necessary information to the committee. That was great. And then on another note, I'm glad that Jason brought up the city charter, because I think that I would hope that the committee would get together soon on the city charter. And maybe instead of biting off the big piece of the apple, a small piece, that if there's something that we need to take to the voters sooner than later, that comes back to the city council, so that if there's something that will improve the overall function of the city, that we, look at taking those to the voters so that we can address those. And I have some ideas that I'll pass on to the committee too for that city charter. And then we did receive for the city council a very nice thank you from Mike and Gretchen McCallum for the hometown hero. I'll pass this around so you can see it, but they're very appreciative for being recognized as the hometown hero. That's all I have, Mayor. Sorry I took so long, you guys.
Yeah, you're pushing up against the time limit.
I know. I know. I'm looking at it.
You had stepped away when Councilor Patton gave his report, and he did ask that we have that subcommittee meeting, you, Stearns, myself, and Patton, sometime in January. And I think that is prudent, because if we act quickly, we can probably get something on the November 26th ballot. And general elections are less expensive than special elections.
Yes. And what I envision, like some of the, what I would consider low-hanging fruit things is There's probably going to be some general language updates that need to be, like modernization of terms and stuff in the document that would probably be low-hanging fruit and not be particularly contentious. One of the ones that has been on the list for many, many years is upping the amount that the city administrator can just do as far as dollar amount, because it's set extremely low, and kind of massaging that as well as some other things. But, because we only have so much budgeted for it and the document is so old, I think, one of the things that I'm going to probably advocate for is either, Emily or somebody from her firm to really kind of dive into it and say, these are some updates that are recommended, and this is how we kind of address it. So I see it taking a few years to really get everything over the finish line.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited to dig into it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I missed the
request was a January meeting for the subcommittee.
I thought he was going to say all of it.
We're not going to repeat all of it.
Okay. Councilor Stearns.
A couple things to report. The Canby Utility Board had a meeting last week, which I didn't attend because of the same time as the city council meeting, but they are going to announce a rate increase hearing. I don't know if I'm saying that technically legal correct, but they're planning on increasing electricity rates. And they were saying about 3 or 4% for most of the residents, a little bit higher increase for the businesses. And so if you're interested on either opposing or cheerleading the rate increase, go to the next Canby Utility Board meeting. There should be, talk to the director, and said there should be a flyer coming out in the next utility bill or something that explains things a little more carefully. That's why I'm kind of staying vague until there's some more stuff in writing on that. But as we all know, the costs increase, and as we know, there's been a need for something to happen, and whatever happens, somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I don't know who, if it's going to be us or somebody else, but it's
like
going to
like more power.
Yeah, like more power. Like, I mean, it's so. And since the linemen and everybody are not volunteers, they have to get paid. So it's to string up new wires or whatever that needs to happen for that. So there's going to be a rate increase there. I noticed on the website that the Civic Engagement Academy, there's a spot on the city website for it, but I don't know if that's been announced or more publicized on that, or is there people getting sign up for it, or because I haven't heard anything other than when I was looking at the website today, I saw it was on there. So maybe somebody said something I didn't.
I believe that they are taking applications for the next academy.
Yeah, and so I just want to make sure that
is legit.
We can give it another push.
Publicized so it fills up, and then stop publicizing after that. So, so I just wanted to follow up on that, and then I just want to kind of mention. I guess this week there was some activity by ICE in the city of Canby. I actually happen to know one of the people that was detained. And I just want to reiterate to the citizens of Canby that the Canby Police Department does not work with ICE, and that if you have a need to call the police, you don't have to be afraid of them coming after you instead of the person who's perpetrating violence or your particular need. So I just wanted to reiterate that to the community, that it's safe to call the Canby Police. So I don't know if the city administrator will say anything more official than that about it, but I just want to reiterate that. But it does affect people, and like I said, I happen to know one of them that was affected by it. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Waterman.
I don't have a Bike and Ped Committee update because that meeting was canceled this month, but apparently they redirected their energy to a different meeting. So, and I think Marissa kind of pretty much stole the thunder on any library updates. So
That's all I have. Yep, perfect. Well, wonderful. We'll move into city administrator updates and reports. Mr. Ely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You got the bi-monthly reports this week, or this particular meeting. I will spare you the details on most of the information that you've already read, but as you can see, just for general announcements, there's vacancies out there still, so we'll do a good job of helping publicize those. It looks like Bike and Ped with one, Canby Utility Board with one, but there was an application that was received. So the Heritage and Landmark Commission, 2 vacancies, and Transit Advisory Committee of vacancies. So still some vacancies there. We did have one job posted. You know, we lost a associate planner to the city of Hillsborough. Darn it. And so we're filling that.
Emma Porter.
Thank you.
Emma?
My bad.
Really?
Emma. She's amazing. Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, bummer.
Flipping Hillsborough.
Dang it, Hillsborough.
Dang it, Hillsborough.
They got nothing going on out there.
I know.
No, I mean, like, their city's on, like, they got problems over there. They don't have that many problems right now.
That's right. But Pete is here, so Pete's been running that recruitment and reports that got 700 job hits for that one position. So, wow. Pretty active job market right now. 17 applications, and I think they whittled it down to 5 interviews for Dawn. So thank you, Pete, for that. Yeah, just moving through these really quickly. We hosted with the Canby School District first graders behind the cinema the other day to kind of show them community. That was their job assignment through school. So there was fire trucks and public works trucks, and the kids loaded sandbags as an exercise. So that was 300 first graders. 300.
We got some labor out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. And actually,
there we go.
Yeah,
we are all set for the rainy season.
Don't tell the attorneys. Yeah. Child labor. Yeah.
They all signed waivers, I'm sure.
Yeah. We actually kept. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's on the school district. We kept those sandbags, by the way. They're down at Public Works, so they're ready to be used if we need them.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, the new finance director, Denise LaRue, who comes to us from Chariots Transit, as a longtime Canby resident. I'm excited to welcome her December 22nd to the leadership team. As was reported earlier, we're going to meet December 3rd, do another work round with the comp plan work session. The mayor and I were talking about lining out these council meetings. So December 3rd, December 10th, December 17th. Might do some prioritization of council topics. We talked about that, Mayor. Good meeting at 5 o'clock tonight with about 50 residents at Walnut and Ivy Street, representing over 5 years of concurrent project work, representing nearly $5 million. Got some good feedback, as we said tonight. Thank you, council, for attending. Appreciated seeing you there and supporting. Had some good feedback, and we had some learning feedback too. So learning, I call it. Yeah,
Learning feedback.
Yeah, we leaned into that. Practiced my facilities, my active listening and facilitation skills tonight. But we took a lot of good notes, and we're gonna, a lot of things about that I didn't know, like moving through neighborhoods that Council President Hensley reported on tonight. So things that we can address going forward, starting tomorrow. Auburn Farms, there was a report that where the dirt is going, and I think those are some neighborly relationships with the contractor for free, so there's no money being exchanged. Okay, and some of the soil is being reused actually back on site. I think Walnut Street feels good right now. I know I've been doing, sorry, Mayor.
Just real quick, and also, I'm glad you brought it back up, but
yeah.
How did we miss the measurements on the gazebos? And two, how are we $1 million under budget?
Well, I think that budget was.
Right, under budget. No, I understand that. I get we're under budget. I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's a.
The $1 million number is being tossed around because it was a 2 years ago projection. And then when it actually came in earlier this year, it was $1 million less than that projection. So that's.
Not mad about it.
It might not be.
No, I'm not mad about it at all.
It might not be a fair representation to say it's $1 million under budget. It's just different than the original guesstimate. How's that?
No, I just want to make sure we're not tying up more money on things that could have gone somewhere else, is I guess my point, so.
Yeah.
Well, and I think with that project, if memory serves me correctly, when the numbers were originally put out, we had seen several years of pretty escalated inflation on a lot of those materials. So when that budget was set, it projected that out for the future at that rate, and that has come down for construction stuff. So I think that is where it's coming from.
For sure.
Better overestimating and coming in under.
Totally fine with
The
that.
surprise the other way is not as fun.
Yeah. Okay, I'll park that with the gazebos. There was only one picnic table that could fit under the first sketch of the small gazebo. So talked to some neighbors, got some feedback that
They wanted bigger.
3 picnic tables at least, maybe 4 would be nice
Right.
for the community.
That's good.
Okay. We're going to do the 5-year budget projection, hopefully squeeze that in December now that we have the 17th back on, and then do the budget committee meeting in January doing the mid-year budget review. Yes. Okay, so that's on the look ahead. And you all got the email inviting you to the employee holiday lunch on December 11th. Emily, you're welcome to join that as well if you're around. December 11th, 11:30 to 1, over at Cutsforth in the, I believe it's a banquet upstairs. Yeah.
Now, which city staff member is leading that charge for this shindig?
HR.
He is?
Where is he? There he is, hiding in the front corner. Yeah, you should have got a calendar reminder from him too today. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock is a meeting upstairs with the new director of Canby Utility, Carrie Duncan, Bonneville Power Administration, Portland General Electric, Canby Utility, City of Canby Planning Department. I believe Mayor is going to drop in and be with us. So that's a 2-hour meeting. And I'll report out our findings to the whole body council just for your own visibility, and our legal team, of course. After that, meeting with the superintendent, fire and police agencies, talk about 2026 and what they're looking to do maybe on the ballot. And Canby Utility will be in that meeting. We're calling it an all things Canby Sync for a lunch, working lunch.
Good.
Just to see if anybody has any initiatives they're thinking about for next year, so we can all sync up and be on the same page. Couple other just typical working meetings, so that's end of report.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Look at that.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
Real quick.
Day 59, right on time.
I had sent, you had both requested the report that I had drawn that information from. I sent that off to you. If other people are interested in that report that I was quoting for BPA and PGE, let Randy and them know, and they can send it to you.
Groovy. Next opportunity for citizen input. Do our 3 citizens wish to opine? Bloviate, say hello, no?
Hello.
Good deal.
Great job.
All right, action review.
You approved the consent agenda, adopted ordinance 1658, approved ordinance 1659 to a second reading on December 3rd, 2025, adopted resolution 1448A, and there was a consensus to keep the December 17th council meeting.
Great. Before I ask to adjourn, I just wanted to Thanksgiving is coming up, and I want to wish the citizens of Canby a happy Thanksgiving, but also to city staff, you all up here. I just want to say thank you. You know, this is a tough job at times. It can be frustrating at other times, but there's hopefully we're all finding at least some level of joy and are thankful for the things that we gain from being in this position. This has not been a most cohesive group over the 13, 14 years I've been doing this. But I will say that there's been a lot of really great work being done by this group. And so that is one thing I'm very thankful for. So thank you all for all that you're contributing and making happen for our city. There's still a lot of work to do in the coming years. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what more we can get accomplished. So I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and all of you that are here and at home, or will watch us later on YouTube when you pop your popcorn and have your soda pop. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Canby, we are adjourned. Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.